the polyps, you prevent colorectal cancer. It is the only one of the few cancers that I know that is preventable. Now, women go for mammogram. They can pick up, 10, 50, 30% of them, you can pick up nodules, benign nodules. You go and remove your nodules, it makes no difference to your cancer risk, because it is not the nodules, the benign lumps, which become cancerous. So you don't prevent cancer, breast cancer in that way, compared with colonoscopy. It does. This is the very important fact about colorectal cancer. It's preventable.
That's one more question is you mentioned the antioxidants and increased intake of supplements, vitamins.
Yes.
Is there any evidence to show that this really increased the incidence of cancer?
A few. There's a very big study in Australia a few years ago that they've given a group of people with who had polyps before, and then they were given all sorts of vitamins, particularly carotenes and the various vitamins which contains high content of antioxidants. There is no benefit whatsoever of giving this kind of benefit to reduce the risk. We know from studies in Scandinavia, particularly Finland, that folic acid is associated with increased incidence of colorectal cancer. It is very important for women who are pregnant to take folic acid. But taking folic acid as a supplement may not be very helpful, because there is this quite strong evidence to show that those who are being on high folic acid have a higher incidence of colorectal cancer. And the other thing, which is not strictly, but I think it helps in our understanding. There's a big study on lung cancer. Lung cancer, people who are smoking and then they were given antioxidants, so-called, we thought that it might have all the vitamins. If you are a non-smoker, you are given these vitamins, it makes no difference in terms of incidence of lung cancer. But if you are a smoker, you are taking antioxidants and vitamins, you have an increased risk of getting lung cancer. So we are now just beginning to understand what is going on. So I think, for the moment, I think it is better to take note. I wouldn't advise anybody who wants to take supplements, but I myself will not. But I would highly recommend people in Darfur, in Mali, in Bangladesh, who are children, to take supplements, because they need it. They don't have enough. For people like us who are eating too much anyway, eating so we shouldn't be taking more of this. It is not necessary.
Thank you.
We have time for one last question. Oh, two questions. All right. Okay, you first.
Okay, this is for Prof. Goh. I'm not a medical practitioner, but I come from a family who is in the medical line. Anyway, I have 1.5 questions. I understand that there are several symptoms of colorectal cancer. What are the more common symptoms that you have encountered? And also, are there any other conditions other than colorectal cancer that mimic the symptoms? Thank you.
Yeah. The common symptoms for colorectal cancer, 70% of people with symptoms, first of all, 20 to 25% of people with colorectal cancer have no symptoms at all. Sometimes you hear people perfectly well on holiday suddenly struck down with colorectal cancer with some symptoms. So they do not have any symptoms. But 60 to 70% will present with change in bowel habit in the form either increased frequency, consistency, or increasing constipation, bleeding per rectum, mucus discharge. They don't usually have pain. Cancers don't give you pain, which is what we always think associated cancer with. It's only the end-stage cancer that gives us pain. They may have vague abdominal discomfort, and when the cancer spreads to the liver, they get loss of appetite and loss of weight. What other things can give you these kind of symptoms? Many. Piles, infection, diarrhea, you eat something wrong. When you go to Japan, you travel a lot, you get constipated. When you are feeling a bit bloated by eating too much, you get discomfort. You can see that there's nothing specific to colorectal cancer symptoms. That is why it is so difficult to diagnose. So don't wait for symptoms. And it is important not to see one specific symptom. Sometimes people say, I have bleeding, or they're so worried I may get cancer. But you need to see in context. When you are a medical student, 20 years old, you have bleeding because you have constipation, I'm not so worried. But if you are 55 and you have bleeding for the first time, I said you must go for a colonoscopy. So it is an overall picture, not just one symptom.
Last questions?
Thank you. Good morning to Dr. Goh and also Prof. Peter for such excellent lectures this morning. I'm Athena from Medical Faculty. I'm an anesthetist and pain specialist, and therefore the pictures that Prof. Peter showed with how the baby comes from and the conceptions and whatnot really is fascinating, because there we have perhaps then it shows that with feelings and sensations and emotions comes down to spinal cords and therefore arousal and reactions, and that's what makes everything happens. But looking back in the histories, even in these early times, early philosophers, some things that, of course, sensory comes from the heart and some from the brain, because they thought that there are pathways that come in and connections that goes to the heart or goes to the brain. But today then we look at Da Vinci, is there at that time and at that stage, what is his opinion at that time? Is there any illustrations that he has or his works that shows the neural pathways?
Very good. I didn't show you any of his neurology. There's one series of pictures of the cranial nerves that is pretty accurate, showing probably 9 of the what we now term 12 cranial nerves. He also showed all the peripheral nerves accurately. There are beautiful pictures of the brachial plexus. There are beautiful pictures of the sciatic nerve and the sacral plexus. So he did recognize nerves, and they called them nerves effectively. I can't remember the exact word he used now, but they understood that they were the transmission of pain and things. They also knew that if you cut a nerve, you lost function. So for instance, they'd already done experiments by then, the Romans even did it, that if you cut the laryngeal nerve, the pig stopped squealing. They actually knew that. But Leonardo has got about, or more, I think about 10 or 12 pictures of mainly peripheral nerves and cranial nerves. He actually did start doing dissections of the brain. And do you have an iPad? Because there's commentary on the iPad about his work in neuroanatomy. Because the brain is just like jelly, it's like wibbly wobbly jelly when it's not fixed. He realized he could never understand anything about the brain, and he gave up dissecting the brain quite quickly, but he did all the cranial and peripheral nerves. If you get hold of an iPad with a friend, Go and look at the iPad version, you can see all the